In my collection, I have over 14 credit cards. It just makes sense that some are better than others, so let's take a look and see which ones are actually the superior credit cards. So moving into our tier ranking here, we can see that we have S through D. S tier are going to be the cards that I just get an incredible amount of value from, either from trying or not trying, and cards that I just find extremely valuable for me to keep. A tier is going to be slightly underneath that, maybe some cards that aren't incredibly valuable but still provide a lot of value without a whole lot of work. B tier are going to be those cards that provide value, but maybe we have to work a little bit for that value. And C are going to be those cards that are kind of in the middle of the road. They aren't fantastic, but they aren't just terrible. And D tier cards are going to be cards that I would not apply for again, potentially are going to cancel, and I just don't find value in. So moving on to the actual tier list, we can see how we are going to rank these cards, or the cards that we are going to rank, and we'll give a brief description about why I feel the way that I do when we place each one of these cards. So starting off with the American Express Blue Business Plus. And this is a great no annual fee card, giving you 2x membership rewards points on everything you buy. My biggest gripe with this card is that the membership rewards cash value is not that high. The big plus for this card is that this card gives you access to the American Express transfer partners with the membership reward program. So starting off strong here, we are going to put this in the A category because I do get a lot of value from this card, or there's a lot of potential value that this card can offer you through those transfer partners, but it's not perfect because of that cash out rate, in my opinion. Moving on to the Capital One Venture card. Now, similarly to the Blue Business Plus, it gives you 2 Capital One miles per every dollar you spend. Makes it a very good catch-all earner card. This card also gives you 2 visits every year to the Capital One Lounge, currently in DFW, and I believe the other one is in DC. Now, my biggest problem with this card is that it has a $95 annual fee, and the Blue Business Plus does not, and that's a big hit on it. And I don't get an incredible amount of value from this card. Now, I think that Capital One has some decent transfer partners, being British Airways and Qantas, has some value in booking American airline flights, but there's not really any great hotel transfer partners, and the cash out rate and the gift card rate are all pretty low. So with all that being said, we're going to throw this in the B tier because there is value to be had, but it does take a little work to get it. The Apple Card, issued by Goldman Sachs. Now this card is nothing fancy. If you use the physical card, you get 1% back on everything. If you use Apple Pay, you get 2% back on everything. You get 3% back at Apple, and then their list of partner merchants. Would I get this card again? Probably not. Am I gonna cancel it? Also probably not. This card does have a pretty high limit in comparison to some of my other cards, and it's free to have. So with all that, I do get some value from the high limit on my credit report, so we're gonna drop this in C tier. Moving on to the Best Buy Visa card issued by Citibank. Again, nothing super great to write home about. This is definitely the definition of a C tier card. Since I don't plan on canceling this card and it has a decent limit, it doesn't cost me anything. And then every once in a while, I can get some good value out of the earn rates. We're gonna drop this right into C tier. Nothing super great to say about it. Now, moving on to the Discover Chrome card. Now, this is not the Discover card that everyone talks about. This card is pretty simple. It gives you 2% back on gas stations and restaurants, and then 1% back everywhere else. Now, I got this card because Discover gave it to me as a student card. It has a really low limit. Would I get it again? Absolutely not. Am I going to cancel it? Also no, because it's one of my early cards. It doesn't cost me anything to hold. But it is in my opinion, the definition of a D tier credit card. All right, moving on to the Wells Fargo Active Cash. Now, this one is pretty much the complete opposite of the American Express Blue Business Plus, giving you 2% cash back. Now, that's just straight cash and really no good value in anything else other than cash back. That being said, it doesn't have an annual fee. It's 2% cash back. You can't ask for much more. I think that this card is pretty valuable. It's easy to get value from if you're playing the cash back game. so A tier it goes. Now moving on to Chase, the Chase Freedom Flex card. Now this card is a powerful card by itself, but it's even more powerful if you have the Sapphire Preferred, the Sapphire Reserve, or Ink Preferred. And that's because those cards, which we'll talk about a little bit later, can unlock incredible value. But even by itself, 5% back on rotating categories every quarter, and it's got solid normal categories already, with drugstores and restaurants being among them. This is just a great card, and with no annual fee, I think that this card deserves to go into the S tier because it's just incredibly easy to get value from this card. And moving on back to American Express, the American Express Blue Cash Preferred card. Now this card comes in with a $95 annual fee, which is not great. It is a strictly cashback earner, and not only that, you can only redeem it for statement credit, which I'm not a huge fan of. This card does have some pretty decent categories, gas stations and grocery stores being among those, because of the $95 annual fee and the restrictions of how you can redeem your rewards, and the fact that you can get very similar earning rates on other cards without annual fees. We're gonna put this in B tier because it is somewhat easy to get value from if you use the card, but it does take some work to get value from or value out of this card. Now moving to the United Explorer card. This is the blue United card from Chase. For me, we don't get a whole lot of value out of this card, mainly because I don't fly United Airlines. Now, if you fly United, you can get value out of this card, but for a $95 annual fee, really, for just keeping United points, it doesn't provide me any value. Would I get this card again? No. Am I gonna cancel it? Absolutely. Is it a good card? Yes, for the right person. The American Express Hilton Honors Business card. Now, I talked a little bit more in depth about my opinions of this card in the cards I'm gonna cancel in 2024 video. One, it's a Hilton card, so you're earning Hilton honors points. It does have some decent categories for spending. And then the biggest value play for me are the 10 priority pass visits you get every year. With all of that, we're putting it in B tier because you can get value from it, or I can get value from it, but it does take some work. And when I say that, I mean when I go to airports and there's a priority pass lounge there, I get value from this card. Any other time, not a whole lot of value. Now moving on to the Chase Sapphire Preferred. Now this card we briefly touched on earlier. With its okay earning categories, a $95 annual fee, you may look at this on face value and not see a whole lot of value. But the value of this card comes from the ability to access the Chase transfer partners with your Ultimate Rewards points. Now paying that $95 annual fee automatically unlocks a ton of value across all of your Chase Ultimate Rewards earning credit cards. So because of that, this card is my second S tier credit card on this list. Chase Business Preferred card. Not a super valuable card to me. I just applied for it to get the sign-up bonus. I just got the sign-up bonus, and past that, it doesn't provide any value for me. Pretty much everything that this card can do, Sapphire Preferred can do as well. So because of that, it is going in D tier. In short, would I apply for it again? If it had a 100,000 point sign-up bonus again? Absolutely. Am I gonna cancel it? Absolutely. Does it provide value for some people? Yes, it's a great card and a great ecosystem because this card also allows you to get into the world of Chase's transfer partners. So it unlocks a good bit of value if you don't have the Preferred or Reserve. All right, moving on to US Bank, the only US Bank card I have, the US Bank Altitude Connect card, the business flavor. Now this card does provide me a good bit of value. The biggest reason is the 4x back on gas station purchases. As you can see throughout my list here, we are not very gas focused. However, gas is a pretty big part of my monthly and yearly expenses, as are most Americans that we drive. So that being said, getting value from the earning categories is good, but this card also offers 4 priority pass visits every year. And if you have the US Bank Altitude Reserve card, you can actually pull your points together and transfer points from the Connect card, the Business Connect card, to the Altitude Reserve card, unlocking even more value from this card. So that being said, it's I would say it's more of a B tier card, being that you can get value from it as long as you're spending it with gas, but that $95 annual fee does kind of hurt a little bit. So it's not great, it's not perfect the way that I use it, but it is still pretty good. Now moving on to the American Airlines Aviator business card from Barclays. You are able to get a good bit of value from it, but it does come with a $95 annual fee. American Airlines points are pretty valuable, so even pretty much the 1x that you'd get on most of your purchases still can provide some value up in the 2 and 3% range. That being said, the $95 annual fee, I don't love seeing money leave my bank account, so this is going to be another B tier card. It is okay, you can get value from it. I don't get a whole lot of value from it. And then finally, wrapping us up is the American Express Gold card. Now my opinions on this card differ vastly from a lot of other content creators in the credit card space and a lot of other opinions about this card just in general. I think it's a good card. It is a really good earner in the dining and grocery store categories. Basically, if you eat it, you'll earn very well with this card. But the biggest drawback for me is that $250 annual fee. It's a huge annual fee. Looking at the list, it is the biggest annual fee that I pay out of all of my cards. And yes, you can get some of that value back through the $120 Uber credit and the $120 dining credit, but in all honesty, it takes a good bit of work to do that. If you use Uber Eats quite a bit or take a lot of Uber rides, you can get at least or pretty much half the annual fee back. And if you eat at one of the merchants that accept the dining credit or that American Express offers the dining credit for, you can get the other half of your annual fee back, pretty much. Now for me, I can get that Uber credit fairly easily, knocking that annual fee down $120. The dining credit's a little bit more difficult in my area. Grubhub's a little spotty, and we don't have any of the other restaurants in close proximity. Now with all that being said, I can get value from this card, but it's not an exceptional amount of value like I think that we can with the other cards. So we're going to pop this in A tier because it's not perfect, but it's still a really good credit card. All right, so wrapping it up and recap, my top 2 credit cards are from Chase, the Sapphire Preferred and Freedom Flex, and you can see all the other ones on screen now. Now, I hope you enjoyed this video and enjoyed my opinions on the 14 cards that I have in my wallet. Leave me a comment down below what your favorite credit card is, either on this list or in your collection. And feel free to give me a subscribe and a like down below, and check out one of these videos.